皆さんから見て右手側のスクリーンにはジュニアの部の中継映像、そして左手側のスクリーンには一般の部の中継映像が放映されていますのでね、ぜひご注目ください。さあ、それでは決勝トーナメントの組み合わせはこちらになります。スクリーンにご注目いただきましょう。Here are the pairings for the final tournament. Please take a look at the screen. まずこちらジュニアの部のトーナメントになります。いよいよ準決勝となっておりますね。4人の中で頂点を目指す戦いが繰り広げられます。さあ、続いては一般の部です。どうぞ。さあ、こちらもね、次の勝者準決勝決勝ということで、ね、どなたが勝者に輝くんでしょうか。皆さんから見て、実は試合中の放映がされるんですけども、皆さんから見て右手側のスクリーン、ジュニアの部の南東也さん VS ブランドン・ダニエル・メドラのパルンボさんの中継映像がご覧になっていただきます。そして左手側のスクリーンは一般の部のジャレル・マッケイ・ウィンストンさん VS サイト・アキカズさんの中継映像が放映されますので、ぜひご注目ください。以上の組み合わせ、決勝トーナメントを戦います。The final tournament will be competed in these pairings. さあ、ただいまファイナリストのスタンバイ確認を行っております。さあ、準備はよろしいでしょうか。この後はヘッドジャッジの合図でデュエルをスタートしていただきます。それではヘッドジャッジの皆さん、どうぞよろしくお願いします。
Welcome to Day 2 of the World Championships. You have 60 minutes. You may start.
ただいまよりトーナメント1回戦を開始いたします。
Here we go. We will be discussing one of the matches today, Jarel Winston from the United States versus Akikazu Saito from Japan.
Winston is playing with an Exodia deck, and that took him to 7th place in yesterday's competition, whereas the player from Japan will be playing Insectors, and that helped him to a 2nd rank finish yesterday.
The top 8 today, Insectors have had quite a run of it here, which will come as no surprise to many observers. Out of the top 8 still in the tournament for the expert class, 6 of them are Insector decks. There is one Malefic Skill Drain deck, and there is Jarel Winston's Exodia deck, which we are going to see in action now. Starting off with Upstart Goblin, drives Saito's life points up to 9,000. Winston's playing an interesting Exodia deck. He's using cards like Gift Card and Hope for Escape. He pumps up his opponent's life points and then uses Hope for Escape to draw additional cards. You will see Saito's life points probably go pretty high, and Winston doesn't care because he's going to win with Exodia, hopefully, for him. Looks like his pot is showing Wabaku, Threatening Roar, and another pot. And he chose the other pot. He's going to send the Wabaku and Threatening Roar back into his deck, probably indicating that he already has some defensive cards in his hand already, but we'll see.
Looking like Winston's playing with a few Japanese cards as well, right?
Yes, in fact, his head of Exodia is an old-school Japanese card from over 10 years ago with the smaller text box like they used to be printed.
Well, it will be interesting if we get to see it in action. Winston passes play to Saito, so we will see what he can do with Insectors right now.
Or Sangan.
Or Sangan. Plays back to Winston.
There's that pot of duality he got last turn. That is Hope for Escape. 2 copies of Hope for Escape for those who aren't familiar with that card. And a Threatening Roar.
Could you quickly tell us what Hope for Escape does?
Sure. Well, you can only play Hope for Escape if your opponent has at least 1,000 life points more than you do. The cost to play Hope for Escape is 1,000 of your life points, and then you draw a card for every 2,000 life points difference between you and your opponent.
Saito was checking out the card as well, so he probably hasn't seen a lot of it either.
During the first day yesterday, there was a lot of translation that had to be done for Hope for Escape for Winston against all of his opponents. Winston yesterday played against players from Hong Kong, Italy, Mexico, and Japan. So the translators were busy yesterday. Now you might be noticing that Winston is setting a lot of cards, which would leave him vulnerable to something like Heavy Storm. Another card that he is playing with, though, is Accumulated Fortune, which can only be activated as Chain Link 4 or higher, and draws him 2 cards. One of his strategies this weekend is to build large chains with cards like Gift Card, and then cap it all off with Accumulated Fortune. Looks like an Allure of Darkness for Saito.
I think he used Gores to pay for the cost.
Yep. Looks like a Summon of Effect Veiler, and he's probably going for Armorion. Yep. With Sangan, it looks like he searched out an Inzektor. Got a few more attack points on the field right now.
At the same time as this match is going on, the other 3 quarterfinals of the expert class as well as the semifinals of the junior class are going on as well. If we have the chance, we will provide you with updates from those matches during our broadcast. Winston's making sure he correctly remembers which cards he has set.
Always one of the drawbacks of setting 5 cards. Reckless Greed.
That is one of the many cards that provide card draw to Winston.
And there is Hope for Escape. That's going to put Winston down at 6,000. There's a gift card, which will drive Saito up to 12,000. And of course, gift card will resolve before Hope for Escape. By my math, that'll put Winston up 6,000, which will let him draw 3 cards from Hope for Escape, plus 2 more from Reckless Greed. Is my math right on that, Peter? Peter's doing it in his head.
I think so. And there it is.
There's Accumulated Fortune, which will draw him 2 more.
So that is 3 cards, 2 cards for Reckless Greed, 3 cards for
Hope for Escape.
And 2 more cards for Accumulated Fortune.
Yep.
That sure is a lot of cards.
Be interesting to know whether Saito knows what he's playing against right now. Winston did play 2 players from Japan yesterday. Be interesting to see if they talked it over afterwards or not. Now, of course, we're not at the table, so we can't see what's going on off camera any more than you can. I would imagine that Winston is explaining the structure of this chain to Saito right now, and probably having a judge confirm, which is always a good idea when you're in a top rounds of a tournament like this.
Yeah, that pretty much is a good idea. Anytime, if you don't fully understand what's going on, ask your opponent, and if you then still fully don't understand, call a judge for help. That's what they're there for.
Now, I mentioned earlier that 6 of the top 8 remaining in the tournament are Inzektor decks. 25 duelists originally entered in this tournament. Of those 25, 12 were playing Inzectors, 3 Chaos Dragons, 3 Gravekeepers, 2 Dark World, 1 Malefic Skill Drain, 1 Final Countdown, 1 Six Samurai, 1 Neos Alias Beatdown, and the Exodia deck we are now seeing. Going through that chain, 1 link at a time, showing the cards that are drawn. 3 for Hope for Escape, 2 more for Reckless Greed, and then he grabs them all. Probably going to take him a minute to sort through what he just drew. Winston's putting a die on his deck with the number 2 on it, showing that he still has to skip 2 of his draw phases for Reckless Greed, and he played 1 Day of Peace. Both players draw an additional card, but he's safe from attacks for a turn. More cards going down. Maybe he's going to try and repeat the same trick next turn. We'll see.
Looks like a really good start for Winston to me.
Play right now is already back to Saito. Another gift card. That will put Saito up to 15,000 life points. And another Hope for Escape. With Winston going down to 5,000 and Saito at 15,000, 10,000 difference, that'll let him draw 5 more cards. Looks like Winston's doing the math himself there.
And your math was correct again.
Good to know. Should be very interested in what's going on through Saito's head right now.
Oh yes.
Two more cards from that Reckless Greed.
A quick question to our colleague from Japan. Do you see a lot of Exodia decks played in Japan, or is this really a surprise for the Japanese player?
Hi, this is Shin from Konami. Yes, this is a really surprise for us to see the Exodia deck in the World Championship. We don't rarely see this Exodia deck in a tournament of Japan. We are very surprised, to be honest.
Well, looks like Winston put his cards on the right deck there.
Saito got Inzector Centipede onto the field, giving him some more attack points. But it looks like Winston's drawing yet more cards with another Hope for Escape. And he's equipping the Centipede with a Hornet.
Winston right now doesn't have any cards in play, so Hornet doesn't have a target, right?
Yeah, in response to the equipping of Hornet, looks like Winston got activated and got rid of his Wabaku before Saito had a chance to pop the Hornet, which then prevents Centipede from grabbing another Inzector out of the deck. Another 1 Day of Peace. Both players draw. And an Upstart Goblin, another draw for Winston, another 1,000 life points for Saito.
Another 1 Day of Peace.
Yep.
Looks like Winston only has 5 or 6 cards left in his deck.
Summoning Sangan, which was negated with Solemn Judgment, looks like. Saito's got plenty of life points to burn, and that'll bring him closer to Winston, which actually goes against Winston's strategy.
Although I think he has already activated all 3 Hope for Escape in his deck.
That's true. Winston sets another 5 cards and plays back to Saito.
That was a really expensive Solemn Judgment.
That's true.
Winston has to discard a lot of cards at the end of his turn.
Now we start seeing the jar grid, and here we go. And a big show of appreciation from the crowd. If they didn't know what he was doing before, they sure do now.
Jarel Winston takes the first duel of this quarterfinal. If you're wondering how Winston has done against Insectors so far during this event, he has played Insectors 3 times yesterday and won 2 times, lost only once. Looks like a decent matchup for him.
Saito yesterday played 4 mirror matches against other Insector decks and won all 4 of them. His only loss yesterday was against Aramura from Japan, who's playing the Malefic Skill Drain deck. Aramura is still in the tournament and is playing in one of the other matches in this quarterfinal. As an interesting note, Winston also lost against Aramura's Malefic Skill Drain deck yesterday. So both of these players lost against the Malefic Skill Drain deck, which is still in the tournament.
Also, a quick overview on the countries players are coming from in this quarterfinal. Players from Japan really made their home country proud, with 4 of them making it to the quarterfinal, and they actually finished 1 through 4 after Swiss. There's a player from Italy, a player from Germany, Winston from the US, who we see right now, as well as 1 player from Singapore, who round up the top 8.
Peter, did I go over the Dragon Duel deck makeup yet? I don't think I did.
I don't think either.
So the Dragon Duel, there were 12 players who competed in the Dragon Duel World Championship. That was a little bit more diverse. There were only 4 Insector decks in the Dragon Duel, 2 Hieratic Dragon decks, 2 Dino Rabbit, a Final Countdown, a Bubble Beatdown, a Beast Beatdown, and a TG deck. The 4 remaining duelists in the Dragon Duel are 1 Hieratic Dragons, 1 Insector, the Final Countdown deck, and 1 of the Dino Rabbits. Looks like they finished side decking. Now they're shuffling. Looks like Saito's pile shuffling. That is also my preferred way of shuffling. How do you like to shuffle, Peter?
I also prefer the pie shuffle.
What about you, Shin?
I also use the power shuffle when I do the shuffle. So, yeah, for this finals, I mean the day 2, the final cut should be done by judges.
Okay, that's a very interesting way to do it. Thank you very much. I really like the sleeves they're using here. I think they look cool.
Thank you.
Winston was there showing that his side deck still contains 15 cards, so he did 1-for-1 exchanges only with his side deck.
If you're wondering about the game mats that I used here, these are the participation game mats for the participants in the World Championship, and they show the artwork of the 2 prize cards that are given out to first and second place finishers here.
These are 2 new Xyz monsters. They won't be available to the general public. As always, the World Championship prize cards are only for the top finishers in the World Championship. These, of course, are Xyz monsters based on Blue Eyes White Dragon and Dark Magician.
Kevin, have you, when looking at the deck list, seen any interesting side deck cards that might have an impact on this matchup?
On this matchup, no, not really. Saito's playing a fairly standard side deck. Mostly good against mirror matches against Inzectors, possibly against Elemental Heroes, and so on. Winston's side deck is largely composed of counters to some of his weaker matches. He has counters against Gravekeepers, against Wind-Up Loop, and he's even got a couple interesting cards in his side deck to drive his life points down even more so that he can draw more cards with Hope for Escape.
There we see the cut made by the judge. The judge team here consists of judges from Japan, the United States, Latin America, as well as Europe.
The head judge for this event, you might have heard him at the beginning announce the start of play, is Andrew Bowling from the United States, who also judged the World Championship in 2010 in Long Beach.
Saito is starting off with a Pot of Duality.
And probably thinking which of these cards will be useful against Winston's Exodia deck. Going for Raikou.
It's now Winston's turn. Let's see if he can repeat his great opening from the last duel.
So we did a live streaming yesterday as well, and it's Japanese only, but we received many comments from the in English for the Winston's deck, which is really interesting for them.
Fairly typical start for Winston, setting 5 back row cards.
Aha, there we go. That's one of the side deck cards I was talking about. That's Twister. Which got rid of Royal Decree, it looks like. Royal Decree, one of the cards that came from Saito's side deck. Twister, basically like Mystical Space Typhoon, except it can only destroy face-up cards, but it also costs 500 life points. A lot of players don't use Twister because of the life point cost, but in Winston's case, where he's looking to create a difference between his life points and the opponent's, it's a good card for his strategy.
And he pretty much had to get rid of Royal Decree.
Yeah, Royal Decree would crush him. There's that Raiko. Chaining Reckless Greed to Raiko, looks like. Ooh, and a chain of Royal Decree. Winston chains Wabaku and then can activate his Accumulated Fortune.
So in this case, Accumulated Fortune and Wabaku resolved because they were first on the chain, then Royal Decree, and then Reckless Greed got negated, right?
Reckless Greed would be negated, yes. And then Saito sent 3 cards to the graveyard for Raiko.
Looks like 3 more for Card Trooper.
That's right. No point in Saito attacking, of course, because Wabaku was in effect. Another Upstart Goblin for Winston. You can hear the applause going on for one of the other matches in the hall. As soon as the results for that are finalized and confirmed, we'll let you know what's happened over there. Saito summons Centipede, bringing Hornet out. Gonna pop the Hornet. Winston's using MST. I didn't see what he was pointing at. I assume it's the Royal Decree.
I assume so as well.
And another Hope for Escape. And there's only a 1,500 point difference right now, but since Winston has to pay 1,000 for Hope for Escape, it's going to widen to 2,500, which will let him draw 1 card.
I think Winston's trying to get rid of his back row cards so that his opponent can't use the effect of Centipede. And looks like he was successful with that.
You commented earlier that Winston's playing with some Japanese card. Looks like Saito's got a English Card Trooper and an English Insector Hornet. A lot of players from around the world like to collect the cards from different languages, especially when they come in foil variations that you can't get in your home country.
I think that as well is one of the big appeals from the World Championship, that players from all different areas where Yu-Gi-Oh is played come together and get the chance to trade cards and enjoy playing Yu-Gi-Oh together.
You're right. It's entirely possible that Saito and Winston picked up some of those cards this weekend from the other players. And another Allure of Darkness for Saito.
Also, I think they had the opportunity to visit some Japanese card shops on the tour on Friday, so probably Winston picked up some of the cards there.
That is entirely possible. Alright, he's going to banish Hornet for Allure of Darkness. Winston asking to check through Saito's graveyard. And another 1 day of peace. Both players draw a card, and Winston's safe from attacks during Saito's turn. The Jar of Greed for Winston. Summoning Dragonfly. Going to equip it with something. Looks like Gigamantis. Pump up Dragonfly's attack points. Saito, of course, has a lot of attack points on the field right now, but he's still under the effect of Winston's 1 day of peace, so neither player would take damage this turn.
If I saw it correctly, I think Saito used his Hornet to destroy his own Gigamantis
That's correct.
to use Centipede's effect.
That is a legal play. In fact, I was wondering why he didn't do it in the last duel. Hornet, of course, can destroy any card on the field, not just your opponent's turns. And now he's doing the same thing, destroying his card trooper. Searching for Centipede's effect, getting another Dragonfly. And then for Card Trooper, he's going to draw a card, since Card Trooper was destroyed. Be interesting to know what Saito's strategy is here. It's possible he's digging for his third Royal Decree, assuming he's side decked in a third copy. Looks like plays back to Winston. And Heavy Storm, which is being negated with Solemn Judgment. Heavy Storm, by the way, a card that is in Winston's side deck, so he added it into his deck for this game.
I think so far the second duel there is a slight advantage for Saito. Would you agree?
Well, Saito knows what he's up against now, and those Royal Decrees, I think, are probably causing Winston to alter his gameplay a little bit. That is Legacy of Yatagarasu, for those who aren't familiar with it. The card on the left basically, in this situation, functions like another Jar of Greed. It's a trap card that lets Winston draw a card. If there's a spirit monster around, then you would draw 2 cards, but probably no spirit monsters in Saito's Inzector deck. And it looks like Winston's going to keep that Legacy of Yatagarasu. Saito's life points lower than Winston's, which is something we haven't seen much of this weekend. Alright, Saito's going to equip his defense position Dragonfly, it looked like, with that Giga Mantis. And Winston's going to use that Legacy of Yatagarasu. That's a lot of attack points on the field.
And some cards in Saito's back row to protect them, probably.
That's right, and considering that he negated that Heavy Storm with the Solemn Judgment, he's probably got something back there that is going to come in handy. Looks like he's going to put a Ladybug onto Dragonfly and then pop the Ladybug.
That is a relatively recent addition to the Insector deck. Do you mind telling us what it is?
Ladybug? Absolutely. Ladybug came out in Galactic Overlord after the bulk of the Insectors were released. Ladybug, once it's equipped to a card, you can send it to the graveyard to increase a monster's level by 2. The nice thing about Ladybug is if you have it equipped to Centipede or Dragonfly, you can send it to the graveyard to increase the level of any monster in the field. Basically is an excuse to go through your deck for the effect of Centipede or Dragonfly. As you've seen, the problem with Hornet is that you can't always use Hornet unless you destroy your own cards, because your opponent might not have something.
It also provides you the additional benefit of bringing your level 3 Insector monsters, which are Centipede and Dragonfly, up to level 5, so it gives you access to rank 5 Exceeds monsters from your extra deck.
Which we might be seeing right now. You are Psychic, Peter. That is exactly what is happening. Let's see what he gets.
Terras.
Yep. And here come the attacks, it looks like. First, that 2400 Dragonfly. Now the Centipede. All right, with the Swift Scarecrow, looks like.
Yes. Scarecrow you can only activate for with a direct attack.
Correct.
You discard it to the graveyard, and it negates the attack and ends the battle phase.
And if you're sitting there at home wondering why didn't Winston do that before, probably because he wanted to drive his life points below Saito's again, which is the whole way that his deck works.
It shows you that sometimes it's worth to wait a little bit.
Yep. Call of the Haunted. Bring back Card Trooper. And then, yeah, he's going to equip Hornet to Centipede. Pop Hornet, destroy Card Trooper. We've seen this before. Draw another card. I really think he's digging for another Royal Decree. Well, looks like another Xyz coming. Zen Mines. Zen Mines, and then he negated the summon of his own Zen Mines.
Probably to get his own life points a little bit lower.
Yeah, he doesn't want Winston drawing any more cards.
That was a very quick turn by Winston, who just set 2 back row cards and then passed play back to Saito. If you're wondering why the picture is sometimes shaking a little bit, rest assured, we are not experiencing earthquakes here. It's just the camera setup.
Also Godzilla walking past outside.
Yes, that as well.
Peter and Kevin, I think the first round of the Dragon Duel is over, so I will ask our judges and about the results, and we'll get back to you.
Great. Thanks, Jin.
Thank you very much. Another quick turn by Winston.
Peter, did you see the display on Winston's life points go from 2,500 to 15 for no reason and then back to 2,000 after he played Twister? I think that was a scorekeeping error.
Probably, yeah. And I think Winston just conceded the second duel.
Looks like he had 3 pieces of Exodia in his hand.
Yeah. That, of course, I imagine could be an issue if you start off with too many Exodia pieces in your hand. Then you can't get your card draw engine going, and it probably hampers your complete game plan, right?
That's the eternal curse of the Exodia deck. You don't want to start with too many. You don't want to have too few. It's just like Goldilocks. It's got to be just right.
While the players are preparing for the third and final duel of this match, let's give you some background information on the two. Jarel Winston is 21 years old, and he's from New York in the United States. When he's not playing Yu-Gi-Oh! On this high level, he also is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Judge. And Akikazu Saito is 26-year-old, and he's from the Aichi prefecture in Japan.
Winston was asked this weekend what he thinks the strongest deck in the format is. He said it was Dino Rabbit. Saito, at the moment, says that the best deck right now is Inzectors. No surprises that he's playing it at this tournament. They were also asked about what they think are the must-have cards right now. Saito considers Effect Veiler and Pot of Duality to be the most important cards right now. Winston didn't specify anything for the main deck, but he did say that he thinks there's 3 cards that should be in every side deck. Max C, DD Crow, and Victoria. Side decking once again, getting ready for the third duel of this match. The score is currently tied 1-1.
In the meantime, we also received the results of the semi-final of the junior competition. In the first semi-final, Minami Toya from Japan has won against Brandon Daniel Medrano Palumbo from Mexico.
I'm looking at the deck list right now. Minami from Japan, who won that, he is playing Inzectors. He defeated Medrano's Final Countdown deck. So that would be Inzectors beating Final Countdown.
In the second semi-final, Lee Yu Hao from Taiwan beat Zachary Gordon Leverett from the US.
All right, and it looks like Leverett was playing Hieratic Dragons, and the other was playing Dino Rabbit. So that's Dino Rabbit defeating Hieratic Dragons. Looks like the final then for the Dragon Duel will be Dino Rabbit versus Inzectors.
Exactly. It will be Minami against Liu, and we will have that final later in our broadcast, as well as the game for third and fourth place, which will be between Leverett and Medrano Palumbo.
Interesting that that's Dino Rabbit versus Inzectors, which are what Winston and Saito said are the two best decks in the format.
That's very interesting indeed. And thank you to Shin for providing these results.
My pleasure.
So Shin, the Japanese players are doing very well this weekend. Can you
Yes.
tell us a little bit about how they prepare for an event like this?
Okay. Current, World Championship environment, maybe we need to adjust the deck to apply the, forbidden and limited list for this Worlds. Considering that Inzectors is the best choice for us. Us means the players from the Japanese. And for example, Akikazu Saito has used the Inzector deck in this Japanese World Championship qualifier. So he's really used to play the Inzector deck.
So he has a lot of experience doing that, and
Yes.
especially with playing Insector mirror matches, which we touched on earlier, he has won all 4 of those.
Exactly.
Well, Winston opened with an Upstart Goblin and a face-down card. Saito is opening with Pot of Duality.
Showing him Sangan, Solemn Warning.
And Gigamantis.
Yeah.
He's keeping the Solemn Warning.
Interesting choice, I think.
Three face down for Saito, and back to Winston. Oh, Foolish Burial. Card we haven't seen yet so far this match. And looks like he's going to send Dragonfly to the graveyard.
The other quarter-final matches in the expert class are still going on, so no results there yet.
Call of the Haunted brought back that dragonfly that he got with Foolish Burial, and now he's equipping Ladybug. Popping Ladybug, increasing Dragonfly by 2, but more importantly, he gets to use Dragonfly's effect. And he is going to summon Centipede.
It's pretty much you always use Dragonfly to get Centipede and Centipede to get Dragonfly, right?
Yep, two great tastes that taste great together. And now that Centipede, which also is level 5 thanks to Ladybug, is going to get another Ladybug. Looks like.
Which he promptly normal summons.
No, he popped the, looked like he popped the Ladybug for Centipede and summoned another Dragonfly. Yeah, it's sometimes difficult since we actually can't see all the gestures of the players to tell what they're doing. Or hear them. It's very important to hear what your opponent's saying in these matches. That Ladybug sure is getting a lot of use.
And he used the effect of Centipede to get Gigamantis. Oh, he has 2 Gigamantis. Probably going for an... I think he attached the Gigamantis on the left to the Dragonfly that is still level 3. Although they should all be level 5 right now, shouldn't they?
That Ladybug has come back and forth so many times, I've honestly lost track.
I think he just ran out of dice, probably.
There are approximately 10 minutes remaining in the round.
残り時間約10分です。
Well, the unmarked Dragonfly, let's call it. Winston's letting these pass. It'll be interesting to see if he has something to stop the later attacks. Attack order, very important in that case, which is why you always declare your attacks one at a time. Never, I attack with everything.
To maximize his attack points, he attached the Gigamantis to the 2 Dragonflies, because Centipede has higher natural attack value than Dragonfly.
Looks like it's math time. Legacy of Yugioh Karasu to draw a card.
Might be hoping for a Scarecrow.
Yes, indeed.
Now, if he has something to stop this, he wants to get his life points as low as possible to get maximum effect of his card draw. So that's probably the reason why this is taking a little bit longer than you might think. There comes the Scarecrow.
Yep, he had one after all. And here comes an Xyz summon. Looks like you were right. He did just run out of dice since he just moved it over to that other dragonfly. And here comes Tyrus again.
That seems to be his rank 5 of choice.
Yep, and he's going to negate it.
I'm not sure I've ever seen somebody use Solemn Warning on his own summon before.
It's possible that he's just feeling clogged. He's got too many monsters, and of course their effects can only be used once per turn, so he's trying to clear the field up, give him a little more space. He's got more than enough attack points to finish Winston off if he can just land another attack.
Plays to Winston, and he fills up his back row. And turns play back to Saito.
It's interesting that he didn't set those 5 cards previously, which leads me to think he's had that Swift Scarecrow for a while and was feeling confident in its ability to protect him.
He probably wasn't able to set the back row in such a way that he could prevent Hornet from going off. So then, in that case, it was better to just wait until the right moment.
Definitely something he could have been thinking as well, yep.
There he makes sure that he doesn't get any damage this turn.
Looks like he's equipping Dragonfly with a Ladybug from the graveyard and then popping the Ladybug. Which lets him summon again, now that he's got space. Nope. And he's going to Twister. Looks like he was going for that Call of the Haunted. Of course, gets rid of the Dragonfly and the Gigamantis that was equipped to it. And there's Hope for Escape.
That will bring Winston's life points down to 900.
Cutting it pretty close.
Well, it also means that it's the only hope for escape he will be able to activate this game, right?
That's right, because it costs 1,000 to use.
And it was negated by Solemn Judgment.
Yep. Ladybug on Centipede, pop the Ladybug, Centipede gets bigger, search with Centipede, and gets a Hornet. Puts the Hornet on Dragonfly. And 2 Reckless Greeds for Winston.
That's pretty much the way you want to do it, because Reckless Greed lets you skip your next 2 draw phases, so if you can activate 2 at the same time, it still only lets you skip the next 2 draw phases.
And if you're wondering why Hornet's still there, Saito did equip Hornet to the Dragonfly and then immediately went to pop the Hornet. Winston said, hold on. After your equipping of the Hornet resolves, I do want to activate some cards. So he activated and chained both of his Reckless Greeds before Saito had a chance to legally use the Hornet's effect. It'll be interesting to see if he pops one of his own cards.
Looked like he was going to pop Gigamantis, but I think Winston had a question there.
Saito looking through his graveyard. Saito keeps checking his graveyard, might be trying to make sure he absolutely wants to do this.
As there is a lot of thinking going on right now, a quick reminder that the next match we will show you will be the 3rd and 4th place match from the junior class. And that will start probably pretty much right after this match has finished.
And that will be the final countdown versus Hieratic Dragons match to determine 3rd place versus 4th place for the Dragon Duel Championship.
So another defensive deck against a more aggressive deck?
Yeah, there are parallels between the Exodia and the Final Countdown, definitely. Looks like they're checking the life point record here. Score pad on the table indicates that they're still going over the life point record. Possibly comparing Winston's tally to Saito's tally to the judge's tally, making sure everything's in accord. Some of you may have noticed there is no Yu-Gi-Oh! Video Game Championship this year. Instead, there are the two card game championships, the expert class, which is for all ages, and the Dragon Duel Championship. This is the first time there's been a Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG Dragon Duel Championship at the World Championship. Dragon Duel generally open to those 12 and under, although the eligibility requirement is based on a fixed date every year, just because people have birthdays in the middle of the year, and we don't want players to qualify when they're 12 and then be ineligible for the World Championship because they're 13 when the championship rolls around.
This is a very tight and important game, so there is no wonder.
Ah, there we go. Hornet pops Gigamantis. And it looks like he's going to use the effective Gigamantis to get back Centipede. And then summon with Dragonfly. Ladybug onto Centipede. Pop the Ladybug. Saito was playing very fast there towards the end. Winston's probably asking him to clarify what was going on.
So Kevin, still the turn of the Akikazu Saito, right? Which player's turn right now?
Which turn is it?
It's still Saito's turn.
Yes.
It looks like they're trying to back up a bit and replay what happened, just so that Winston can confirm everything and understand what's going on.
Okay.
So this was the point where Hornet destroyed Gigamantis. And he used Gigamantis to get back Centipede.
Maybe the head judge is with them to make sure each move
Yep.
and each card.
After Saito brought back that Centipede with Gigamantis, he plopped down the Ladybug and the Hornet onto the field. Winston's probably wondering where those came from.
Right.
Might just be having a communication barrier here.
That is one of the big challenges of all international events, that not all players speak the same languages, so it can cause some confusion, which you then need to make sure you figure out with the help of a judge and some translators.
Peter, you do a lot of this in Europe. How many different languages do you generally provide translators for at the European Championship, for example?
We try to provide translators for at least all the languages that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is released in, so Italian, French, German, English of course is the staple language, and Spanish. But we normally also have judges from countries like Croatia, Scandinavia, and other smaller countries to provide as many languages as we can. So normally at a European Championship we have between judges who can speak between 5 and 8 languages.
Per judge?
In total.
Okay.
There is actually one judge who speaks 6 languages though.
Nice.
And in addition to that, we have many translators for this World Championship as well. We have translators from, of course, Japan, Korea, and Europe, Italy, and Spain, and a translator from some Asian country as well.
Shin, how many countries in total are represented here at the event? Do you know? It must be I think at least 12 or 13, right?
Yes, at least 12 or 30, yes.
We have 4 different countries from Europe.
Hmm?
We have the United States, 2 from Latin America, Australia, New Zealand, 4 or 5 Asian countries outside of Japan.
Well, in addition to Japan, there's Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, South Korea, Thailand, the Philippines, and Taiwan.
Thank you, Kevin.
No problem, Shin.
So this is really, really an international event.
Shin, I know one of the things that it's of interest to players in the U.S. is
Right.
that players in Thailand, for example, play with Japanese cards,
Yes,
but many people in Thailand don't speak Japanese.
correct.
So how do they work that?
Because we haven't distributed the English version to the Asian countries. That is why.
Got it. So do they... How, for example, would a player in Thailand get a Thai version of what the cards are supposed to do? Nope, Shin just got called away, so we'll have to ask him this question later. Shin, in addition to providing commentary here, is one of the tournament organizers for this event. So he's been a very busy person this weekend. Hence his long periods of quiet during this. If he's not speaking, he's generally not here at the desk.
And he was really busy yesterday when a lot more was going on, a lot more matches at the same time.
And a lot more players.
More players, more need for translation.
The time zones are an interesting thing, too, that a lot of people don't realize. Currently, it is 11:15 in the morning on Sunday here. Meanwhile, it is early evening on the west coast of the U.S., for example. It's getting into the late night on the east coast of the U.S., and it's just past midnight in parts of Europe.
Yes, for example, in Germany it's just 4:15 right now, a 7-hour difference. We just got confirmation that a judge is right now checking the status of this game, so that's what the delay is all about.
So we will sit patiently.
We will sit patiently. So did I understand that correctly, that right now in the US it's still yesterday?
It is Saturday in the U.S., yes.
And it's Sunday here.
Yes, that's the magic of the International Dateline Network.
That's so weird.
Well, that's because the clock, of course, is centered on London time. Japan is ahead of London time, and the U.S. is behind London time. So the U.S. is not just behind London, but London is behind Japan. So the U.S. is so far behind Japan that it's actually yesterday. It makes my head hurt.
But behind Japan, you only mean in terms of the time, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Just want to make sure.
The International Dateline is in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, where very few people live. And basically, if you cross the International Dateline in one direction, you just add a day. And if you go in the opposite direction, you subtract a day. And this simulates flipping the clock because you've gone more than 12 hours past Greenwich Mean Time.
Isn't that pretty much the whole premise of In 80 Days Around the World?
Something like that, yes. This is interesting. So we've just found out that they are actually going to do some instant replay here. The judges are going to use the video that we have been working on to check the last play. This is a first, I think, for Yu-Gi-Oh!
This is the first thing.
Introduction of instant replay into Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments. You heard it here first. So we are on par now with sports like baseball,
Football.
yeah. Wonderful.
So Kevin, we are in the middle of the Duel 2, right?
Duel 3.
Duel 3.
Yes. The second one happened while you were away. The score is 1 duel for each player.
1-1.
Yes.
Final countdown is in the finals, not in third, fourth place.
Peter, how many players did you have at the European Championship this year? Approximately.
That's a really good question. I don't know it on top of my head, but I remember it was the biggest European Championship of the last few years. I think in total we had around 800 players.
And it was held in...
It was held in Milan, Italy.
Okay.
What happened at your WCQ this year?
Lots of mayhem, the usual. The European Championship also includes South Africa still, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And Cyprus.
Yes. Yes, the European Konami Europe is responsible for Europe, Africa, the Middle East, as well as Oceania. But New Zealand and Australia, who make up our Oceanian territory, they actually have their own WCQ. But all the other countries qualify into the European WCQ, which means that I think the player who had the farthest travel to Milan was the national champion of South Africa.
Okay. Yeah, so for example, Australia and New Zealand were both represented in this tournament. The 4 finalists from Europe were from Italy, Germany, Spain, and Greece. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. North America, of course, which is classified as USA and Canada, gets 6 slots, but it's open to USA and Canada, so players from either country can attend in those slots. Last year, for example, was a mix of Canadian and US players. This year, all the players were from the USA. And then Central America sends 1 representative, which was from Mexico this year. And South America sends 1 representative also, which was from Ecuador.
And the fact that at the WCQ in Italy, an Italian player was really successful with Stefano Memoli, that created an incredible atmosphere in the hall. We streamed the final matches onto a big screen in the hall, and it was really a football stadium atmosphere there. Football meaning soccer for you people in the US. The Italian players sometimes cheered so loud that it actually made my ears hurt. Yeah, we apologize for the delay and for the long times of silence, but it's understandable that at such an important event and such an important elimination match, they want to make sure everything is 100% correct.
And of course, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not a spectator sport, so more important than keeping things interesting for us who are watching is the actual sanctity and integrity of the tournament.
It is not a spectator sport yet.
Maybe someday. Once we have the holographic dual discs, then we'll really start to move on.
Oh, we have to ask Shin how those are coming.
Yeah. I wish I could be a fly on the wall right here, so I could tell you whether Saito is again demonstrating to the judge what is going on, or whether the judge has actually confirmed that Hornet and Ladybug should in fact be on the field where Saito wanted them to be. But we are watching just what you are watching.
Yep, and you are lucky we haven't started singing yet to fill the silence.
You should sing to us in German.
I definitely won't.
Looks like we are proceeding. Hornet is going to get equipped with Gigamantis. Ladybug is going to get equipped with Gigamantis. That's a lot of attack points on the field.
Just got confirmation that this is not a demonstration, but actually continuation of play.
Upstart Goblin from Winston. followed by Pot of Duality. One Day of Peace. Three face downs. And play is back to Saito.
Wow, I can't imagine how hard it must be to keep up your concentration level during such a delay. I think this is really a big challenge for the players.
And a pot for Saito. Yeah, he grabbed a Royal Decree. One of the two that he revealed with Pot of Duality. Sets one card. Probably that Royal Decree. No attacks, of course, due to One Day of Peace. Winston on his turn, just set another card, looks like. There is the Royal Decree. Winston's gonna use Twister, Chain Jar of Greed, Chain Accumulated Fortune. Since that would be Chain Link 4, no. Probably explaining through an interpreter how this chain is going to work.
Yeah, he has to chain Twister to Royal Decree.
Chain Link 3, Jar of Greed.
And Chain Link 4 then will be... Oh no.
Accumulated Fortune, which he decided not to use, looks like.
Okay.
Threatening Roar to stop that attack from Centipede.
Now, Kevin, why would he put his monsters into defense position?
That's a good question. Possibly afraid of Mirror Force.
I lost track a little bit of it, but probably most of his dragonflies and centipedes are already in his graveyard. So if he runs out of those, he basically would only have cards like Call of the Haunted to get them back. And without them, you can't really do a lot, right?
Mm. also difficult to tell how many cards are left in Saito's deck.
Oh yeah. But this is probably one of the few situations where the opponent of the Exodia deck has less cards left in his deck than the Exodia player.
Right, because there's so much searching and summoning for the Inzektor engine.
Yeah.
So Kevin and Peter, I got the information from judges, and they told me that we have 3 more minutes for this round.
Until we go into end of match procedure?
Correct.
Okay.
The players probably received some extra time while the judges were checking the video.
Looks like Saito negated his summon of Gores.
Getting his life points down again.
Yep. And Threatening Roar is going to stop another round of attacks.
Not sure that Saito needed to do that, to be honest, because because Winston can't activate Hope for Escape anyway, if I'm not wrong. Pot of Duality for Saito. Is that
Transmigration Prophecy.
Thank you. Trying to pronounce that card name will probably break my tongue.
MST on MST. And that's that. Looks like Winston ran out of defense, and Saito moves on.
That's still a great showing for Winston, piloting such an interesting deck all the way to the top 8 of the World Championship. I think he can be proud of his achievement.
Absolutely.
And I think things are looking good for Saito. He has a lot of experience with the Insector mirror match, has won all of those so far today, and probably will play against more Insectors in the following rounds. So we might see him again in the finals.
We might, yes. Although that Malefic Skill Drain deck is still lurking.